Your Uncle Paulie has gone on long enough, Jackie. It's time to take action.
You're a dead man! You hear me? A dead man! Oh, the NYPD is behind me, Estacado. I own the NYPD.
I'm just here for the clean air and the engaging conversation.
Hey everyone, this will probably be slightly out of season for Halloween, but welcome to the Darkness Review. If you know your shit about mid-2000s first-person shooters, then you should know The Darkness. Made by Starbreeze Studios before Payday even became a franchise, this is a weird case of a comic adaptation in video game form. And not to say that it's a bad adaptation. I personally can't speak on it, so that won't be a section of the video like comparing The Darkness to its comic, because I don't have enough time to actually go into comparing it to its source material. As far as I know, it is based on a run I think that came out a few years before, or like a run that was recently new around the time of the game's release. And I do know the game itself, I think, has a tie-in comic, or at least influenced the comics after the game had released. But the way I would describe this game almost is that it's like a movie tie-in game for a movie that didn't exist, and that's not necessarily a diss towards the game. Aesthetically, to me, this game does feel like a lot of superhero movies that came out from that, like Raimi Spider-Man to 2007, like sort of that mid-aughts, late 90s like superhero movie aesthetic, if you get what I'm saying. Well, you know, a comic movie, not superhero movie, because Jackie isn't really a hero per se. Okay, so on to explaining the story. So, with The Darkness, you play, obviously, as I said, Jackie Estacado, though the story starts in the afternoon, I guess, of his 21st birthday. When I played this game for the first time, I never realized that this first intro section was supposed to be taking place during the day. The fucking color grading and shit is so off. The way the story is explored is basically Jackie almost recounting the events. I guess you could say it is recounting, but it's sort of inconsistent how he's telling the story. It's almost like he's telling it to you, and then at some points it's like he's talking to Jenny. Sometimes it's presented like he's just narrating it to the audience, and then sometimes it's presented like he's talking to Jenny rather than properly being like just proper narration. And it's mainly told through loading screens and the occasional cutscene. But as we go through this section, the cops start chasing you, even though the neighborhood is supposedly owned by the guy you work for, Jackie's uncle, Polly Franchetti. This section is honestly so fucking fun. The driving, it kind of annoys me, to be honest, because the way the physics are just completely off, and I get that it's like animated, so they probably could get it really accurate, but oh my god, it ticks me off so bad. So after that, the car crashes. You get the signature M19. Yeah, is it M1911? I think is the pistol that Jackie's signature guns are. You won't be seeing these pistols that often throughout the game. Ironically enough, they're more of a last resort weapon once you run out of ammo with all your other ones. And so with this, you are being chased down by the mob, which Jackie is a mobster. Used to be. Consider this entire thing basically means he's exiled. And so you basically fight your way, making it up to the cemetery, fighting your way through different like mobsters and everything. And when you make it to the cemetery, weird shit I think right after the crash, weird shit starts to happen. But this is where the weird shit starts to happen. So you'll notice the Darkness, you know, the thing the game's tell after, will start talking to Jack, which, fun fact, it's voiced by Mike Patton of Faith No More, which, man, he really was on a streak doing video game stuff, wasn't he? Because he did the zombies for Left 4 Dead. He did this. If I find anything else, I'll probably put it up on screen in the editing process, but I have no idea. And then you basically make your way through the city, trying to survive the night. You meet your girlfriend, Jenny. And with this, it's funny to me, because in this section, it's very nice. I love sections like this. You'll notice even in the subway stations and everything, they will play with the color grading to make certain areas feel different from one another. Like the Fulton Street station, where the orphanage is, you'll actually have like warmer color grading than say the Canal Street station, which is pure cold lighting. I like little details like that where like I guess that's how Jackie sort of sees the places where he has better memories is with warmer lighting. But back to the Jenny segment, you can watch the entirety of To Kill a Mockingbird. That's not a joke. They licensed out the To Kill a Mockingbird movie. And I just find that interesting. You can watch the entire movie. You even get an achievement for staying with Jenny for a little bit. I don't think you get an achievement for staying through the entire movie, but you definitely you get an achievement for staying with her for a bit. There's a lot of licensed stuff on the TVs if you look in this game. I actually had to turn off the TVs in certain sections because I didn't want to get stuff accidentally get copyrighted or anything, even though I'll probably turn the volume super low during this video. But I find it interesting. Because this game takes place in, like, the 90s. I'm assuming it's the 90s. It's definitely not 2007, because Jackie's still using a fucking pager. But the thing is, all the TVs have stuff that's from around 2007, at least for the music videos. And then all the TV content is from, like, the 1930s, which is funny. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. With that, basically, the entire game is just fighting through the mob. You meet up with what important character you meet is Butcher Joyce, which he helps Jackie throughout the entire game, pretty much trying to take down Paulie, or at least he helps Jackie take down Paulie near the end of the game. You also have Jimmy the Grape, which I don't really remember him in this game. I only remember him from The Darkness 2 because they only plays Chief Schroed. I think I forgot his first name. Hank Schroed? No, I'm thinking Hank Schrader. No, but he's the police chief. He's working with Paulie. He has it out for Jackie as well. I'm gonna get this out of the way. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. So after all, like the first segment of the game, you go to the orphanage, where Jackie and Jenny grew up, because Paulie and Schroed kidnapped Jenny, and you fight your way through the orphanage. And then when you finally meet them, the darkness prevents you from actually helping or saving Jenny. And then Paulie, in the middle of his rant, just shoots Jenny, kills her dead. Of course, Jackie, being absolutely distraught by this, manages to break control from the darkness and off himself. You get sent to... It's debatable what this area actually is. I think it's supposed to just be like the darkness. Like you're inside the darkness, because it's healing Jackie after he shot himself. I think also some people say, or at least like in-game, it says it's hell. And then you go through this, like, it's mainly connected to Jackie's great-great-grandfather, or great-grandfather, because he was a World War I. And he's actually the reason why Jackie has the darkness. He was the first one in the family to get it. And so you're fighting through like this mixture of World War I, World War II, weird-ass hell dimension thing. And then the darkness pulls you out because it healed you, or it healed Jackie. And then back on the hunt, getting revenge for Jenny. Jackie understands that to get to Paulie, he's going to have to get to Eddie first, because Eddie is basically using the entire force to protect Paulie. He tries to go after Eddie at his apartment and fails to do so. But after that, Butcher lets him know about a briefcase at a Turkish bath owned by Eddie. To F over Eddie, or at least to lure him out, Jackie gets that briefcase from the Turkish bath. That is a whole heap in hell in a handbasket, because it's an it's a shootout in and out. Hell, on the way out, you're actually like, there's SWAT teams swarming into the building. Jackie sets up a meeting with him at Trinity Church, but it ends up being a fake out on Eddie's end to try to capture Jackie. I'm sure Paulie told him, but Eddie knows about the darkness, so he has light shining on Jackie. And basically, Jackie tries to distract his guard, or the policeman that Eddie brought. And he tries to basically get them to where they're covering the light so he can get darkness power, pretty much. But what Eddie didn't know is that Jackie actually rigged the suitcase with a bomb. So once he finally has access to his powers, he whips the thing and it blows up in front of everybody, which ends up killing Jackie as well. And you get sent back to the alternate dimension, or other world, where you left off. And this is where you basically raid the Darkness's castle. I'm not going to go too in depth. It's just killing more enemies. Really can't. I really didn't want to go into detail on this because half of the game is walking around and shooting shit. And that's not a detriment to it, but it doesn't really translate well into trying to explain what's going on. And in the end, Tony ends up biting the dust pretty much after that giant monster attack. He tells Jackie how to free himself from the darkness, but gets pulled away right before he finishes it, or right after he tells Jackie what to do. Probably leads to one of the more interesting segments of the game, which is freeing yourself from the darkness. You basically end up in this room with a bunch of like contraptions and shit that basically lets you give up all your powers and stuff like that, and then you actually face the darkness itself. I noticed this playing this again. Before this moment, Jackie is normal even when he uses his darkness powers. You'll notice it in the first person hands and everything, probably in the footage. But after this, when the darkness, basically Jackie absorbs the darkness, that when you use the darkness, you have a new form, or at least you take a different physical appearance after this moment in the game, which I find is a very cool detail. Very interesting too, because it's a first person game, so you really wouldn't see it unless you're looking at Jackie's hands. Then after this, it leads into the finale of the game. Jackie's back in the real world again. The darkness lets him know that every life he takes past this point makes it stronger in consuming Jackie's soul. Even with this knowledge known, Jackie lays assault on the drug shipment that Paulie had coming in from Chicago. After all of that, Paulie flees to his lighthouse mansion and is seen as a liability by the Chicago mob because of his unstable nature and wants to get rid of him. This is actually hinted at earlier in the game, but Jackie knows there's a solar eclipse coming. Or it's not hinted at earlier in the game, but one of the loading screens actually hints at it. Jackie actually uses this to his advantage. So you show up at the lighthouse, and it's like broad daylight. But as you make your way through it, the eclipse actually starts and basically makes Jackie... I don't think he gains more power from it, but like basically lets him use the darkness technically during the day. And you just lay assault on this mansion, and it ends with a climactic finale of you climbing up the lighthouse to find Paulie. Obviously, the way this game ends, you kill him, and the darkness fully envelops Jackie. And you may think that's where the game ends, but nope, in true movie fashion, this has a post-credit scene with Jackie and Jenny on a bench in a park, but I'm assuming this is supposed to be sort of like not a limbo, but like just sort of purgatory state, I guess, for Jenny. Because there's a plot point that ended up happening in the Darkness 2, which I think this was hinting at. Darkness 2 only got that cliffhanger ending. We never got anything past that, so we never got to see this storyline fully fleshed out, which fucking sucks. So that was the story. And now on to gameplay. I will say this game hasn't aged that gracefully, especially compared to how shooters have evolved since 2007. For a 2007 game, I do admit the dual wield is pretty innovative. I do like how you can switch between different pistols and everything. You don't have to have one set of pistols. Jackie will literally just throw it one, grab another out of the backlog that you have, and then you have two different kinds of pistols. And I do like how the M1911s are actually sort of like a backup in case you do run out of ammo. Though once they're out of ammo, you're completely screwed. You can only use like darkness powers until you find a new gun. And I do like how at the end of the game, you can clearly tell you're at the end of the game because they start giving you all of these weapons that you've never seen before, like rifles and stuff like that. The majority of the game, though, you're going to be using pistols. And on the occasion, you'll find a SMG or a rifle, but it's mostly pistols. That is the signature of this series. And the darkness powers, I think, are the most innovative thing here because there's a lot of instances in the game, especially like environmentally and stuff, where you can use them. I personally didn't, but they also incorporate it into like puzzle solutions and stuff, especially later in the game. Like there's certain parts where you need to use like the darkness arm to rip off planks of wood. I forgot what each one is called, but there's like that slithering, like the snake one, where you actually have to like go through vents and stuff and unlock doors and and things like that, which that's honestly pretty impressive for 2007. I mean, a lot of it is jank. If I could scrub through the footage, I'll show some jank moments, but it's pretty cool. You can also use a black hole, I think, in one scripted instance to like break a wall down. With that, this game's movement is so clunky. I don't like it. There should have been a sprint button. If Night Dive ever remasters this, there better be a sprint or run option, because holy shit, Jackie walks so slow. And it doesn't help that like this game doesn't have a proper map or mini map for you to navigate locations. So a lot of times when I was like trying to record footage for this, I would get lost. And so I would have to look at the map, but the map doesn't have a cursor to indicate where you are. It just flashes the area you're in. And it doesn't even like let you, as far as I know, it doesn't even let you zoom in to see what street you're on or anything, or like where anything you're supposed to do is. So I had to keep like referencing playthroughs and guides just to make sure I was heading in the right direction, because I would get lost for like 20 to 30 minutes. I felt like I had no sense of direction in some areas because a lot of it looked the same, or there wasn't a clear indication of where I was supposed to go. But that's my biggest gripe, is just navigation. Other than that, the gameplay is solid. I mean, the gunplay, I guess some people would probably call it clunky. I do think the auto aim is very finicky, and I have it cranked up to the max on controller. I think this game would have definitely benefited from a PC port of some sort, which the Darkness 2 eventually got, but from what I remember, the Darkness 2 isn't as like wonky with its aiming physics than this game was. So yeah, overall solid gameplay with a few major problems, but it sort of balances out in my opinion, especially with the gunplay being so good. Despite the navigation problems I have with this, like that annoyed me to no end. I was literally getting headaches trying to figure out where to go in this. Now onto graphics. Now, I said earlier in the video this has a comic book movie vibe. You could see that. It very much does feel like they were going for sort of the aesthetic of mainstream here, like comic book movie media at the time. It definitely feels like, while it is adapting the comics elements, it does feel like they're trying to make it a bit more grittier. I can't really say grittier. I don't know how gritty the Darkness comics, especially before the game came out, were, but it does feel like it's sort of tapping into that sort of vibe, if you get what I'm talking about, from like comic book movies at the time. I keep saying that. I'm a broken record. Other than that, I do think the best way I could describe it is if like Nolan's Batman had the color grading of Tim Burton's Batman, because this game has a fantastic use of color. I do like how most areas do have this grayish, like cold tone, and then you have certain areas like the train station next to the orphanage, which Jackie probably has a bunch of memories of, and it's like color graded warmly, like almost nostalgic. And I do find that an interesting aspect, how they play with the color grading and everything. Like the Otherworld levels are actually mostly like red, brown, and gray. Like it doesn't focus on lighting too much. It focuses more on like the visceral imagery of that area. And I do think that is a great choice, is to make everything feel distinct in some way. Oh, and a unique thing to this game, I should have mentioned this during the gameplay segment, is the loading screens. Instead of being just like a static screen, instead it will be like a mini cutscene, or just Jackie fucking aura farming, because why not? Like a lot of the time, if you're going in the right direction during the story, it will actually be like him talking about something related to what's going on, whether it be the location, the like what he's thinking in his mind during these events, or maybe like later on it's him talking to Jenny directly, and that's sort of how the game is formatted, between him talking to the, almost narrating for the player, and talking to Jenny. It flip-flops between both of those, and I'm assuming that's supposed to tie in with the little purgatory state we see at the end of the game in the post-credit scene. I do find that interesting, and I'm on the Xbox Series, so the loading screens are pretty fast, so you see the skip button a lot. I'm probably not going to show them all off, but I did record most of them. So with that out of the way, the score I'm going to give for the Darkness, this game that I personally love, though I have to admit the gameplay isn't too good. The story isn't that insane. It's a pretty basic revenge plot. I think half of the beats are pretty much the same as The Crow. That could be said a lot about superhero or like anti-hero stories. But yeah, I would give this a 7.5 out of 10. Not great, not bad, just pretty decent. It's definitely not like a middling game. I definitely think there's aspects that are very innovative. There are aspects that draw back from it, like I said, the navigation. But I do feel like Starbreeze definitely knocked it out of the park for a game based on a comic that I don't know if people really knew of it at the time, but it definitely put the comic in a higher regard in like comic book history or just like general knowledge. There's a lot of fans that just know the game that probably haven't read the comics or anything. There's also the other case of somebody probably played this game and got really into the fucking comics, which I find is really cool. And that's also one thing I love about adaptations, is that it gets people into different things. So yeah, with that all out of the way, sorry for not getting this video out by Halloween. I was trying to do that, but it will probably be out the first week of November. I am going to try to be more consistent with my schedule. I might have I'll try to have a second video out this month, but I know I'm going to have a very short review for Christmas just because I wanted to do a bit of a gag video for that. With that out of the way, please subscribe, like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, and I am out.
How about that prick's face when he saw the gat?